Welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. We're live here Friday, April 25th, and third hour Friday can only mean one thing on this show. What just happened? As we look back at the insanity of the week, and we get two great people. They are giants. They're titans. That's why only two, not three. We have Tara Dublin, whose birthday is tomorrow, a political activist, Substack newsletter, author of The Sound of Settling, a rock and roll love story. She got a podcast, The Tara Show. I'm winded. And she's hosting the pre-show of the not the White House Correspondents' Dinner tomorrow night, which she'll talk about more in a second. But Tara, welcome back. Nice to see you.
It's always great to be here with you, Dean. Dino is always Kino.
I like that very much. And look who's back. John Fugelsang. We roped him in. Comedian, author. His new book is coming out this August, Separation of Church and Hate. He, of course, has Tell Me Everything with John Fugelsang every night after this show. And one of the stars of Not the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which is available on pay-per-view tomorrow night. And I'm in it too, and we'll talk about it more later. This is just like an infomercial for the Not the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Our producers will have no problem with that.
Ron will be very happy. So, all right, guys, a lot going on. I just find this interesting. The way, and this is a commentary on the media, and we'll be talking about the media a lot today because later we'll get to the actual White House Correspondents' Dinner. The media reported China said that there's no negotiations with Trump, but Trump said there's negotiations going on, and they did a he said, China said type of thing. And meanwhile, the Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, like an hour before Trump said anything, said we have no negotiations right now. So he's still telling the truth. Doesn't know what's going on. But the media doesn't go like, Trump is lying. Even today, China's like, we're not having negotiations yet. They're not saying we're not going to. We're not. He just keeps lying all the time. So Tara, how should the media cover this? He's just it's lying is off the charts, nonstop lying. We know that, but it's even worse.
I mean, if he's still breathing, he's lying. And it's astonishing to me that we're almost a decade into him being this blight on humanity and our American political norms, and people are still like, well, maybe he'll change. No, he'll never change. This is who he's always been. This is who he'll always be. And it's incredibly important that the media calls out his lies, but they don't. Instead, they bend a knee. ABC did it. 60 Minutes is doing it. We don't do it. But what matters, and that's what's incredibly frustrating. They shouldn't be listening to Trump, and that's why we need a dedicated Democratic press secretary to be out there every single day holding press conferences, because there's no real media in the press room anymore, and we need to get the real truth out there every single day, whether it's the China tariffs or it's that the FDA is removing protections on food and milk or anything else that's going on that this government is endangering Americans and not enough Americans know about it. That's why it is incumbent upon us and everyone else in the independent media, but I will continue to lobby the DNC to appoint a Democratic press secretary, because if we don't have a voice every single day going out there and saying, here's what Democrats did today, here's the truth of what happened today. Well, I mean, I don't know how we get the truth back, but that is one way to get it started.
Right. Well, the DNC's focused on silencing David Hogg right now, so they have that going on.
I mean,
John, by the way, I do like the way the Chinese Ministry of Trade put it. I'm not kidding. I'll read. This is the translation. Any claims about the progress of China-U.S. trade negotiations are groundless, as trying to catch the wind and have no factual basis. Trying to catch the wind. I like that. I don't even know what that means, but I like it.
Trying to catch the wind is Chinese for this man is full of poo. Dean. That's what that actually means.
They're being nice.
China pretty much said if Trump wants a real deal, he should stop with the blackmailing and the bullying. They essentially said, try acting like a grown-up and we will consider a conversation. And meanwhile, Scott Bessent is saying the only real connection we have with China at all is a deep personal bond between Trump and Xi, which he called a blessing and a curse. Dean, they have a deep personal bond. That's a blessing and that's not diplomat. That's a Facebook relationship status. Okay. And Xi is going to ghost this guy like a bad Tinder date. So Trump is saying that we're actively negotiating with China, and Scott Bessent is like, actually we're not. So Trump says one thing, Bessent says one thing, and China's over here like, we're not even in this group chat, bro. And
we're getting plans from Pete Hegseth right now about what
Trump's idea of diplomacy is screaming at the clouds and then declaring victory if it rains. That's what we're witnessing.
Yeah, and today, I mean, nothing is believable. He told Time Magazine, in an article came out today, I have 200 trade deals. And the reporter goes, "Can you share some? Not the details yet, but in a few weeks you're going to get them." And the reporter
Yeah.
should have said, "You said that about healthcare. Remember the
Yeah,
healthcare
of course,
plan in a
but they
few
won't
weeks."
say it. They won't say
They'll
it
just sit there.
because
They go, "Oh, I'll just write that down. A
but
few
this is
weeks."
the problem with corporate media. This is why SiriusXM Progress matters. This is why events like Not the White House Correspondents' Dinner matter, because we've worked in corporate media, you and me enough, Dean, to know how it
Mhm.
is. If
Yep.
you ask the tough questions, you do not get access anymore. If you
Very true.
capitulate and normalize, you get a cookie. And that's where our media's at. And you know what? I mean, 60 Minutes didn't want a cookie. So
Right.
that's where it's at right now.
And that was great that the executive producer stepped down. And look, we have another hallmark of these fascist authoritarian regimes is corruption. And while wasn't a huge story, it's still relevant to the idea of Trump corruption. Fox Business, and this is a Fox Business senior correspondent, Charles Gasparano, reported yesterday the Trump administration is giving tips to Wall Street insiders that they know about
Shocking!
ongoing trade
Shocking!
deals, right? And they told them
No!
that
No!
they're telling people they're close to a deal on India.
Oh
And so
no!
for us, but at the same time, this is criminal. This is leaking information that these guys trade on and make more money on. This is classic insider trader. It's classic corruption, and it's
Yes.
not insider. It's not insider trading in terms of a corporate person, someone in the company trading on it. This is wrong in every way, but it's corruption. And Tara, this is the world we live in. And my big thing is not to be able to let this get normalized, because then we just are truly like these third world autocracies.
But he's been normalized his entire life, and the media normalized him from the get-go. And so that everything that he did is fine. If a Democrat tried that, if Joe Biden was selling tours of the White House for crypto, the MAGA cult would never stop screaming. And that's as it's hard for me to hear Democrats being criticized, but I will say we have to be louder when it comes to stuff like this because, and again, going back to the Democratic press secretary and why we're here as well, when these abnormal things happen, they may be considered small, but they actually are huge things because what he's doing is overstepping what even a president should be allowed to do. And he's not being reined in. If he's openly defying the Supreme Court, he's committing insider trading because he's an inside traitor. And as are everyone else, there are no guardrails around him now. And there are very few ways to rein him in. And so where we are now is trying to make everybody understand that there are things that you can let slide, but this is not one of them. When the alleged president of the United States is committing crimes against the United States, both financial and physical, somebody has to call this out and wake everybody up to realize this is not normal. And there are things that the MAGA cult has to be made aware of because there needs to be a point where they wake up and go, oh, wait, it's the food and
I don't
milk.
know
I
if
want
they
to go back
care.
to the food and milk. Well, they have to
No,
eat the
food and
same
milk, that's
food,
different.
drink the
Oh
same
no,
milk.
food and milk, yes.
That, but
Wall
I mean,
Street, no.
but
Wall
it
Street,
all
I'm
it's
not
all
sure they
part
care.
of the same normalization, right? It's all part of if it comes from Trump, it must be good as far as the MAGA cult is concerned, whether it is what you were just talking about or anything else, because the media allows him to get away with all of it. And so it's this huge amount of poo being flung at the wall, and we're like, which is the worst poo that just got stuck to the
Right.
wall? And that's part of what they do.
And John, to that very point, like this in a normal administration, this is like an issue that corporate news talks about for like 3 days, right? But
Yeah.
as Tara says, every day there's like literally they just arrested a judge in Wisconsin, but FBI arrested a judge for obstructing justice with someone
That's
who's an
right.
undocumented immigrant. And the idea, this is just a fascist spectacle. This is to scare other judges. They've
And
been
Kash
warning.
Patel has already deleted his tweet bragging about it, by the way.
That's
So
kind
they're
of
all
weird. That was very
No,
weird.
it's not weird. They're complete knuckleheads. It's completely predictable. They were
No,
just stepping on
so
rakes all over the
incompetent.
place, they're messy, Dean. You know this. And this is the era of what the fuck fatigue. I coined this in the
Yeah.
first term. Pardon my language, but where we are just overwhelmed by the fire hose fusillade of nonstop what the fucks. Our outrage circuits are burned out. It's part of the gaslighting. They want us to give up, despair, eat junk food, and just watch Kardashians and let the oligarchs wreck everything. I mean, the Trump administration is leaking trade deal tips to Wall Street. Pat, wow, I'm
Not
so
okay.
shocked. It's like they're like Wolf of Wall Street, except with less charisma and much less attractive orgies. I mean, this is Fox
Oh, God.
Business. Fox Business. This is not MSNBC in a Che Guevara hoodie. This is Fox Business. Even Fox News. it's so corrupt that Fox News is like, oh, this might be a little illegal. You know, like Kilmar Garcia, 9-0. Even Clarence Thomas is saying, y'all too fascist for me. And the
Right?
markets are roller coastering because Trump can't finish a trade deal without changing the terms halfway through. He treats global economics like it's another one of his prenups. And this Fox reporter, Gasparito, he said the big story here is that the White House is giving Wall Street executives an early heads up.
Ridiculous.
Not
That's
a,
not
so not
but
okay.
that's not journalism. It's a confession. And what does Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, say about this story? Nothing. No
Nothing.
denial, nothing. And you know when they hit you with that no comment silence, right? That's like your partner saying, "Why do you even need to look at my phone?" But this is what we saw in the first
Why
week of
don't you trust
February,
me?
the first week of March, and the first week of April. Step one, you tank the market and you terrify the non-millionaires. Step two, you let the aristocrats feast. Step three, you flip back but declare you're winning. Step four, you pretend none of this ever happened and you get your media dregs to do the same. It's not the art of the deal, it's insider trading with a bad comb over.
Very well. I'm John
Yes.
Fugelsang and Tara Dublin. And it is, but it's still, and again, where do Democrats prioritize what's important? But John, you said something, and I want to talk about it because it's concerning me, and that's the people checking out. And how do we keep them engaged? And I don't mean engaged in our shows. I mean engaged in the big picture. Because
I
first
only
of
care
all,
about our shows, Dean. That's
okay,
all.
let's
I'm
let's
just
be honest.
a
I only
ratings
care about
whore.
this segment on my show. It's the only segment I actually
Democracy,
care about.
whatever. I'm
This
a ratings whore. Go on.
But Tara, so I'll start with you. I mean, people do have to check out at times. Sometimes they're just busy. That's life. You can't follow
right.
this every day. It's my job. If it wasn't my job, I would still follow it every day. It's just because of who I am. But most people are
What a
normal.
masochist you are.
I know.
The Catholics lost a good one with you, Dean. The
I know.
Catholics
Well, I
lost a
was
good
Oh
one.
raised
man.
Catholic. Then they traded me. I got traded.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure who they traded me for. But Tara, what do you say to people about being reasonable and trying to say, look, you got to take a break. I get it at times, but if you take a break too long, you're not going to recognize America when you get back. That's my point to
That's
people. This is
right.
moving fast, so we've got to stay there. But people are checking out, and I can see it in different things. I see it in ratings for MSNBC. We don't get ratings, but
Right.
I see it on data points like Substack articles and other stuff. And
Right.
maybe it's just normal. We're getting past 100 days. We're like, okay, I'm gonna. But what do we do? How do we keep people engaged?
I think what you do is you let people know that if they need to take breaks, we're always here for them. And that's when I have conversations with people in my community. I say, I don't expect people to pay attention the way I have to pay attention. And I also build in self-care breaks throughout my day as well, so that it's not
Oh,
only what I look at and not only what I see, because we have to function in our daily lives, whatever that means to us. But checking out completely, I would say, is the epitome of privilege right now. You don't. Democracy is an action word, and we need you to take action in whatever way is comfortable for you. And everybody's activism belongs to them. Whatever, like if you're not comfortable in going out into the streets like I've been doing, and I've been going to every single protest, if you're not okay with that, then do some digital activism. You
sure.
can use the 5 calls app to contact Congress. You can share articles by respected people that you trust in the independent media. Whatever it is that feels okay for you. You don't want to call members of Congress, but you can email them. There are ways to do it where you can maintain your self-care routines without going too crazy. But I think it's really, really important that you make it a priority to at least check in at the beginning of your day and at the end of the day to see what
Hmm.
it is that's going on in your country. Because it's bad enough not enough people showed up to vote, but it's worse when more people check out. We cannot hand the reins of this country over to people who are actively trying to destroy it. So take your breaks, but please come back, because it is an unending thing, and they're not resting. MAGA cult is
No.
not
Oh
resting.
no, they're not.
They're not. So
Imagine.
we can't.
Right. So that's some span, like 12 hours of not looking at my phone. When I would come back to, I'm like, oh my God,
If you
you
could do
know,
that, I mean,
no,
I
I couldn't
envy
do that. Even
anyone
on
who can do
vacation.
that. But
I was on
like my
vacation a few
mom,
weeks. I couldn't do that.
right.
It's
My
impossible
mom
for me.
can't do it. She like pays small attention. She said she looks at the BBC in the morning, and she lives in New York
Oh,
City.
BBC is
And
very
my
good. I like BBC.
stepfather voted for Trump 3 times. And so they have an agreement that Fox News is not allowed to be on their television when she's home. They can have the BBC on the TV, but that's it. And they do not discuss politics because they can't. They just cannot. And
Interesting.
I can't
So,
talk about politics with my stepfather. So what I tell my mom is, I'm here if you have questions, if you're concerned about something, and I can talk you down. That's what I'm telling people who just cannot have
And
answers.
we're
That's why
going to
we're
surprise guests. We have your stepfather here to chat with it. No, he's not here.
here.
So,
Fred, is
John,
that
what do
you?
you say to people? I
Sorry.
mean, do you talk to, with listeners, people call and sometimes they said, I'm checking out, and I've checked back in. And I'm always happy to hear from a listener. I haven't called in a few months because I needed some time. I'm like, good, you're back. That's all that matters. But how do we be human beings about this? It's a marathon. It's not like a sprint, and it's going to be an election this November and fights going on and protests weekly almost. What do you do?
Well, we just found out that George Santos has been sentenced to 7 years in jail.
That's okay.
Oh,
Breaking news. That's
oh,
a
Breaking
feel
news.
good thing.
So,
Take it in.
you know,
Ooh, I'm all warm now.
the deal is, yes, you have to take mental health breaks. Yes, this nonstop doom scrolling is bad for your health. Yes, we need you to get out and do things and be alive and be in this world and remember why life is a miracle and why America matters. And then, get back in the game because I've said for a long time, despair is privilege. If you're wealthy enough that you can despair, God bless you. But the reality is, and I'll bring this back to George Santos, Donald Trump is going to, at least for the next several months, do most of the heavy lifting of helping the Democrats get organized. I said after the election that by Valentine's Day, the Democratic finger pointing civil war would start to end. And by Easter, Donald Trump would get most of the world on one side against him. And that prediction was true. Donald Trump is going to be the greatest fundraiser for the Democratic Party. He's going to be the greatest turnout the vote tool. Joe Biden got the most votes of any candidate in history because he was running against Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton got more votes than any white man or orange man in history. Kamala Harris is only in this race for 100 days, and she still got the third highest vote total of any person ever to run. Donald Trump has never cracked 50% of the vote in 3 elections in a row. The majority who showed up in 3 elections voted against him. So take all the breaks you need. Trump is going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting to get the entire world, and this time I'm including the business community and the capitalists, against him.
Yep.
And the smart money is on the Democrats who start running now saying, you guys have your feeding frenzy and loot the treasury all you want for the next 18 months. Come January of 2027, law and order and the Constitution will return to the U.S. government, and we will be keeping receipts. The Democrats who promise a full investigation and action of cabinet members, not just a BS January 6th thing where you throw the low-level Confederates but let the plantation owners off the hook. But the Democrats who begin saying we will bring accountability for this are going to be the ones who become superstars and have the fundraising because there's more of us. Apathy won this election. Apathy is the reason that Trump got in there again. But it's not going to be good for him. And it's not going to go well for people who defend Donald Trump right now. And I'd like to see the Democrats close the book on this the way they didn't do after Iraq, the way they didn't do after Iran-Contra, the way they didn't do after the Confederacy.
And, talking about taking a page from Republicans, remember how Republicans would say to Democrats, retain your papers. Democrats should be saying that to Republicans.
Yeah.
Like, Scott Bessent, better retain your paper. Kash Patel, especially.
Don't tell them all. Save those emails. The cloud is forever, bitches. Cloud is forever.
And then tell them Google Nuremberg trials. Like, why? Just Google them. That's where it's headed. So let's talk about someone with privilege here, and that's Bill Maher. And Bill Maher is a jacket. I haven't liked Bill Maher in years. There are things about things. Every now and then we would agree that's life, but in general, I didn't like when he made anti-Muslim bigotry. He mainstreamed it on the left for a little while. It was very concerning. It was like 12, 13 years ago. And from them, I still have not liked him. But he gets invited by Kid Rock, who brokers the dinner for Donald Trump at the White House, right? He goes there at the end of March to the White House and has dinner and comes out and goes on the show and brags about how Donald Trump was so nice. And he talked about Donald Trump. He never saw him laugh before, and he laughed, and he was so funny, and he gave me a tour, and we joked, and he even talked on his show about how, and I know fake laughing. He wasn't fake laughing, and while he might be a monster on TV, but the guy I met was actually really nice. So he got a lot of backlash. Larry David, though, wrote for the New York Times a satirical, amazing, hilarious op-ed, My Dinner with Adolf. And it was about Bill Maher. There's no doubt about it because Bill Maher's angry. Everyone knows it. And I just want to read one thing where Larry David wrote how he was surprised by Hitler's warm welcome, writing, Hitler was wearing a tan suit with a swastika armband and gave me an enthusiastic greeting that caught me off guard. Then he noted how Hitler had laughed at his jokes. I realized I had never seen him laugh before. Suddenly he seemed so human. Here I was prepared to meet Hitler, the one I had heard about and seen, the public Hitler, but this private Hitler was a completely different animal. And
So
it's
funny.
so fun
So
and it's
funny.
so great. Like he should get an award just for the
Oh,
this
it's
article.
great.
So Tara and of course Bill Maher is lashing out yesterday on Piers Morgan, saying
No,
Larry
another
David
hack.
has offended the 6 million the Jews who died and their families, and all this stuff, like having no sense of humor about it, no going like, it was really funny. I get his point. I disagree. Instead, he was hardcore angry and whining and lashing out against Larry David, who he called his friend. So what's your reaction to all this, my friend?
I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but first of all, what a fucking snowflake. Go cry harder and cope, Bill Maher. You put yourself out there. You went and bent a knee to an adjudicated rapist, convicted felon, pedophile, and you went to his house and you did what Lindsey Graham did on the golf course back in 2017. Went there one person. He said something that scared the shit out of you, and you came back his butt buddy. That's what happened. So whatever happened at that dinner, we will never know. We will never know what they talked about. I mean, I'm guessing it wasn't very elevated discourse if Kid Rock was at the table. But this is just another step in somebody who has a huge platform trying to normalize the worst fucking person ever. And so Larry David is 100% on point. First of all, and satire protected by the First Amendment still. But
For now.
when what I love is that they all, posture as these strong alpha males while Pete Hegseth is building a makeup studio in the Pentagon. But they're so fragile and
Yeah.
thin-skinned and delicate. Donald Trump blocked me on Twitter in August of 2015. You say one thing negative about Bill Maher or Piers Morgan or any of these guys, Piers Morgan insta-blocked me years ago.
Wow.
Oh yeah, because I called him a hack and immediately proved my point for me by insta-blocking me. So anyone who's going there and normalizing Trump, we're done. You are done. You are cooked. You have made your choice. You're choosing loyalty to Trump over America. That's your lane. That's where you live now. And regardless of what anyone else comes back with, Bill Maher is in the wrong. That's what it
Uh,
is. And he's trying to rectify it with this week's show because he's bringing on Al Gore and he's bringing on a
oh,
Democratic strategist because he wants to play both
well, he
sides.
does.
We're not going to
Right.
remember, we're not going to forget that you brought Steve Bannon on your show and
No,
platformed him.
and by the way, I should have added after that appearance on his show, John, where he talked about how nice how nice Trump was to him. He had his podcast. He had Charlie Kirk on, and with
Gross.
Charlie Kirk, he said how literally said Donald Trump is a real human being, as opposed to Democratic leaders he's met in the past. So he was continuing. So look, you've dealt with Bill Maher. I'm not sure you used to rise on the show. I know in the past and that kind of stuff. Is this a guy just trying to stay relevant, which he's done to his credit? I have to be honest. There's something there over 20 years staying relevant. It's kind of remarkable. Or is there something deeper going on here?
Well, I've known him for over 30 years. Did his show many times. I've been to his house. He's been very kind to me. I've opened for him over the
Wow.
years.
Mhm.
And look, if I could get Charlie Kirk or Steve Bannon on my show, I'd book them in a second. I would sit down for one-on-ones with those guys any day. They will never do that with me because they know I'm going to ask them questions about very specific things that they won't be able to answer.
Right.
I have no problem with Bill Maher going to have dinner with Donald Trump. He can do what he wants. Artists are allowed to do what they want. If I could have dinner with Donald Trump, I would do it in a second. I already know the questions I would ask him. I know the
Hmm.
arguments I would make to him. So I'm not going to begrudge that. And I saw the picture, and it's like, oh, there you go. Two wealthy, older white men hanging out. They're both talking about being celebrities and how much they both dislike monogamy. I get it. He can do what he wants. Um, I know what Donald Trump got out of this. I don't know what Bill got out of this. I know that Trump got himself normalized, that
Hmm.
he neutralized Bill Maher as a critical thinker who has been one. I mean, Trump sued Bill Maher, I'm not going to
Over a
take
joke.
away, yeah, over a
Yeah.
joke. Um,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
yeah, so Bill can do what he wants, and I do still have a lot of respect for his show and his team and his producers. Scott Carter, his EP, is one of the finest men in television, and Dean and Sheila, the people who make the show, are great. I think the show is great. The show is a Swiss watch of structure. It's a beautifully structured show. And I think Bill's been a great comedian as well. He's not a liberal. He's never been a liberal. He calls himself a liberal, but he doesn't fight for labor. He doesn't put his heart into it. That's not his shtick. Um, when I look at what's going on, there's a lot of theories about why Bill would do this,
Mhm.
because I don't see how it helps him. I don't see how it helps his audience. I don't really see how normalizing Trump helps him any more than normalizing Trump is going to help Democrats who try to do it.
Right.
There's been a lot of theories that this was done as a favor for Warner Brothers. I don't know. Um,
Oh.
what I'll say is that I would have met Donald Trump. I would have had dinner with Donald Trump. I probably would not have allowed a photo of the two of us having dinner to be leaked for Trump's benefit. You know what it reminded me of? When Trump
Mitt Romney?
castrated Mitt Romney. Yeah, when Trump
Yeah.
cut off Romney's dick
Ah,
and,
that's
and had that
interesting.
picture of them in the restaurant. It's like, look, he hated me, but now I'm making him dinner. I own you too. So, look, it's going to all come down to how Bill Maher decides to use the First Amendment on his show for the next few months. I have this belief that celebrity is its own ethnic group. And
Hmm.
that's Kanye has more in common with Donald Trump than
Ooh.
Kanye has with anybody who lives in Chicago. When people were all mad at Ellen watching a game with George W. Bush, whose entire reelection campaign was designed to prevent Ellen from ever marrying who she loved, how could
Mhm.
Ellen have? They're celebrities. They're the same ethnicity. Ellen has
Right.
more in common with George W. Bush than she does with low-income lesbians in this country. It's just this is how it is. Fame is a
Wow.
different set of rules, and it's a different playing field. I'm very curious to see what Bill Maher decides to do with his material and his image after this, because comedically it's going to hurt him, and I
That's
he can turn it into something. He can turn it
right.
into something of value,
Right.
but I don't know if he's going to do that, and I don't know if it was done to help keep his show on the air. I just don't know. I like his show. I agree with you, Dean. The Islamophobia, he lost me a long time ago, and I've had this argument with Bill to his face many times where I've said, you don't hate religion, you hate fundamentalism. You try to write off all religion. It's only the extreme right wing of Christianity, Judaism, and
Mhm.
Islam that causes all these problems. The majority of Muslims, Jews, and Christians are getting along, paying the bills, making families, and having businesses together right now. So it's ugly, but Larry David gave us the best piece of satire of the
That
year, and I got attacked
It
on
was
CNN over this.
fabulous.
I got attacked on CNN over this last night because they said, "Oh, when you compare to Hitler, you've lost it." And it's great to see that Bill has finally decided to become, what's the word? Politically correct. That's it.
ah, that's
But and again, but here's the thing. Trump's done nothing like the Shoah. Trump's done nothing appropriating the Holocaust. But Hitler did so many other crappy, evil things. And pointing out the patterns and the rhymes of authoritarianism and Christian nationalism is deeply appropriate. Compare Trump to Mussolini when you can. But from banning abortion to persecuting LGBTQ people to going after socialists to hating labor unions, trying to take away collective bargaining and their right to strike, despising immigrants, despising gun control, these are all Hitler policies that MAGA loves. So I think it's very, very fair. No one's comparing
I,
the Holocaust, but his language of undocumented immigrants is exactly Hitler's
mhm.
language. And the first person to call him Hitler was J.D. Bloody Vance. So y'all Republicans can sit down.
Right.
Well put, my friend. All right, so let's with that, because we could talk about this all day. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about we have to about Nancy Mace because
I just
Tara's
got
just
banned from real time.
Oh.
The text just came through. I just got
sorry.
banned.
That's it. Tara Dublin wants to talk about Nancy Mace a lot, but I
Oh,
also want
I
to talk
so
about I
want to
do
talk
want to talk
about
about the
that.
not the White House Correspondents' Dinner and the real White House Correspondents' Dinner and the contrast between them. So let's take a break, and we'll start with that right after this. And welcome back, Dean Obeidallah Show. We're continuing our conversation here Friday, April 25th. And Tara Dublin and John Fugelsang are still here. And they're both involved, as I am, in the Not the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which is on pay-per-view Saturday night. But Tara's actually hosting the pre-show. You can go
Yes,
to
I am.
meethook.live/not. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's on my social media everywhere, and John's and Tara's as well. But meethook.live/net. But John, I want to start with you about the origin of this because it's relevant to what's really going on with the real White
Yes.
House Correspondents' Dinner, which we know now. The reporting for Politico today is it's really just going to be like a scholarship dinner. Like it literally
Yeah.
is going to be. There's nothing because at one point years ago they didn't have a comedian, but they had
Ron Brownstein.
No, not Ron Brownstein.
Who was it?
Did they have Ron Brownstein?
Ron Chernow.
Ron
I'm sorry, Ron Chernow. So
I have the
sorry.
book behind me.
I'm
Hamilton.
mixing my rhymes.
And I
I'm
was
so
there.
sorry.
You may have been there as well.
I wasn't there that year, no.
Because there was a SiriusXM host was the president of the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And the guy was really good. It was about the First Amendment,
speech,
and it was very funny.
Like
and
Hamilton
then,
without the rap music. It was great.
Right.
Go on.
So this one, they fired, and I covered on the show, they fired Amber Ruffin after a Trump administration official called her anti-Trump. And they may have other reasons why they fired her, because I heard from someone else in the White House Correspondents Association there was something else going on.
Honest and funny were the reasons. Honesty
right.
and
Honestly,
humor were the reasons.
So they fired
Black
her.
and woman. Black and woman are the other reasons.
But when they hired her, Eugene Daniels, the head of the White House Correspondents Association, was praising her as being the perfect fit for this time. He knew her comedy. Then something happened in a month, and then she's gone. And now there's no comedy. We don't know what's going to happen in term. Will anyone there talk about the Associated Press still being screwed over? Will anyone talk about the attacks by Trump on the media, suing media outlets, threatening media outlets, the FCC under Brendan Carr going after PBS, NPR, and NBC? Will that come up? And if it does, then I'll be like, you know what? They use their platform for the right way.
Tim Pool in the White House briefing room.
Right. So
Nazi Beanie Baby in the White House briefing room.
Nazi Beanie Baby.
So Tara, why don't you start? You're doing the pre-show for, but why is it important? Tell people why. It's not just a pay-per-view special. It's really a commentary where we are a society where the comedians have to be the ones telling the truth, because we don't fear losing access. We're going to bring the fire, and there's some non-comedians in it who are also going to bring the fire.
That's right. And the pre-show is actually it's going to be at 8:30 on the East Coast, 5:30 on the West Coast, and that'll be free on the Political Voices Network Substack as well as the YouTube, and then you can bop over to the pay-per-view at meathook.live/not. It's really important that we're offering the Not the White House Correspondents' Dinner and bringing you the DEI lineup that the White House Correspondents' Dinner refuses to bring. It is about that you can celebrate the First Amendment with humor. And that's one of the core beliefs of, the White House Correspondents. The reason they bring a comedian on, it's the smart kids prom. It's the smart kids roast. It's where everyone goes and has the rubber chicken meal, although this year it'll probably be an empty plate thanks to, food safety and everything else that's going on. But it's important that we call out the actual hypocrisy of what they're going to be doing. You can't call it a White House Press Association and only allow certain members of the press to attend. You can't just let certain people into the briefing room. It has to be all. And so the fact that I made the joke the other day, like, what's it going to be? Like Mike Pillow sitting there with,
Mike
right?
Guy,
He's going to be him
Tim
sitting
Pool?
there going, they're going to be sitting there together, like throwing cocktail peanuts at each other, because it's going to turn into like a bro fest. It's going to be like a frat party or something. While those of us participating, and we have an incredibly long list of very intelligent political comedians joining us, aside from the three of us, we have Hal Sparks and Brooklyn Dad and Trey Crowder and Elaine Boosler and JoJo from Jers and Glenn Kirshner and Stephanie Miller and Frangela, and like all these people that you have come to know and trust at a time where trust in the media has never, been worse. And so, as we said at the top of the show, trust in the independent media really does matter. And so to have everybody tune in tomorrow to hear what you won't hear at the White House Correspondents' Dinner is the essence of why we're doing it. And if we have to, we'll do a live show next year. Like, we'll all go to Washington and do it live.
That's it.
Because,
we're bringing it.
Right?
Or
we'll bring it
El
there.
Salvador. Exactly.
It is about us consistently putting the truth out into the world and making it available to everyone who wants to access it. And that's not what they're going to do at the other White House Correspondents' Dinner, right? It's going to be propaganda, and every speech is going to be contained. It's probably been submitted already. Anybody who wants to participate, if anyone's going to speak, I'm sure they've already submitted their words, their speech for the night. So somebody could go through it and go, oh, no, you can't say that. No, oh, no, not that. So what we're doing is we are bringing free speech to the people, because it is a guaranteed right in our Constitution. We're not just experiencing a constitutional crisis. We're experiencing a humanitarian crisis. And so the human beings who are participating in Not the White House Correspondents' Dinner are absolutely the finest. We are the finest people.
We're the best people. We are the best
people with the best words, and it's going to be fantastic. And I truly hope that your listeners tune in, because not just the three of us are there. And it's just indicative, though, like they're already here trusting you, Dean, so they should be following you over to the White House Correspondent, not the White House
Well, we're going to
Correspondents
see.
Dinner,
That's all.
and all of us who are participating. It's all
I
goodness at the
agree.
Political Voices
Quick,
Network.
John, before I wanted you to talk about it as well, because you're an important part of this, but to a point
He's the
Tara made,
host.
I always remember that my friend Bassem Youssef, who's a comedian, he lives now in America. He was in Egypt. He was known as the John Stewart of the Middle East.
Yeah.
And he had to flee there because he made fun of Sisi, the Egyptian leader, and lives in America. And he told me years ago, not now, years ago, to him, one of the most indicative moments of what freedom is in America is the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And I thought he was
Correct.
kidding. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, the idea that the president would sit there and people could tell jokes about them and no one disappears the next day. And the president laughs at it. And I thought he was kidding at first. And we talked, I'm like, oh my God. And he said, yeah, because that really meant a lot to me. So that's what so upset me when they fired Amber Ruffin, and that they've surrendered something that people from other countries look at as making the United States special in its own way. And it's something that people take for granted, because I didn't until I talked to Bassem Youssef about it, who now, of course, is concerned in America about what he can say, because I don't think he's a citizen yet. So, John, how important is the White House Correspondents Association for being a real association, not being the capitulation association? And then in turn, what are we going to see at the event on Saturday night?
Well, at which event? At their event or our
No,
event?
your event. Your
Yeah,
event.
good, 'cause
We know
we're
what's
not-
going to be at your
yeah,
event.
we're not
That
going to
one we
watch
don't.
that event. No one's
No.
watching it. Do not watch it. I've always had mixed feelings about the Correspondents' Dinner. On the one hand, I agree with Bassem that it is vital to have this. It was in ancient courts. It was always the jester who was the only one who could tell the truth in the presence of the king because he knew how to make it funny.
Right.
So it does carry on a tradition. At the same time, I've always found it a bit dodgy to see the White House and the press being all chummy, when in reality, we don't really need that. But
Right.
it's always been a great tradition to see which presidents can do it, and which presidents can't. Elaine Boozler, who's on our special, she hosted it because some presidents aren't thin-skinned little bitches. They can actually take a joke. So, I think that this one's going to be important because, and next year, I hope we do it live at the DC Improv. I'm already going to try to get it booked for the same night to live stream it in a club with an audience. When they brought this idea to me, Ron, the guy who's trying to kill me for the insurance money, and Hal Sparks had cooked this whole thing up, and they said, "Hey, do you want to be a part of it?" And I said, "How could I help?" And they said, "Well, you do all the work." I said, "Okay." So,
that's what it seems
Usually
like,
what
because I get
happens when they come
emails
up with
from
ideas.
John.
yeah, so that kind of just happened. But, for me, I was like, well, what I cared about most was, they said it's going to be, everyone just puts in 5-minute videos. And for me, I'm the guy who really misses the golden age of pandemic comedy specials. So I was all over it, right? But it's actually brilliant because corporate media couldn't air what we're going to have. I can already tell you that there's so much hilarity in this. Yes, Elaine Boozler, Frank Conniff, Chuck Nice of Star Talk, Alonzo Bowden, of course, one of the funniest comedians in America, which you all know from Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. We have influencers like Brooklyn Dad. Jojo from Jers has contributed a video that we're sending it to DC to have scientists check, but we think she has more profanities in 4 minutes than have ever been concentrated in any David Mamet play or Martin Scorsese film.
Wow.
There is more
Doing
profanity.
Jersey fucking proud, Joe.
in
Thank you so
4
much.
minutes. That's, I mean, it literally, like, it stops light. It's so dense. There's so much profanity. Allison Gill of Mueller, she wrote. I wanted to
Sure.
get her because she's just a dynamite influencer and she does great podcasts. She's turned in something that's like Avatar 2. I don't know how she did it, special effects wise. Trey Crowder, the liberal redneck, one of the first people I called, his video is so deeply funny. And it really is the diversity of thought. Yes, it's a lot of people on the left, but it's everyone giving their own take. I said to everyone, if you had 5 minutes to speak to this group, what would you say? And I can tell you, we asked Glenn Kirshner, and he's a grown-up, Dean. He's like a real
I
grown-up.
know, he's an adult. He's
Glenn
a lawyer.
Kirshner is making his comedy debut.
No, he did jokes, Glenn?
Glenn
I've seen some
Kirshner
of his
is
jokes. I've
doing
been to his dinners.
jokes. I thought he was going to give us an
Glenn's got
impassioned
jokes.
I thought he was going to give us a big Justice Matters speech, but Glenn's doing comedy, so it's going to be a real party. It costs $20.26 because 2026 is a number we should all be thinking about quite a bit. And for me, yeah, if you're tired of the sanitized corporate media narratives, this is for you. This is the stuff that we couldn't do on any cable news station. And honestly, I hope a lot of people tune in. It's going to be really, really fun. It's very experimental what we're doing, but
Sure.
I'm thrilled about it. I think anything,
Mhm.
look, it's going to be throwing everything at the wall. It's going to be Al Green causing a ruckus in Trump's Wine Kampf
Mhm.
speech. It's going to be Cory Booker doing the longest filibuster that's not a filibuster in history. It's going to be judges. It's going to be protests. It's going to be comedians. We're doing resistance in an all different way. And I'm
Yeah.
really, really proud to be a part of this just because the quality of artists we have and the influencers, it's very diverse, it's very funny, and it's going to be deeply offensive to exactly the right people. We got Dean Obeidallah on this show, for
I'm
God's sakes.
offending thing. I'm my jerk.
We
I wore
do.
my nice bow tie. I wore a nice red, white, and blue bow tie. You can find
You
out
did a
why if you
black
watch.
tie. I wore black tie, and TV's Frank actually went out and bought
No,
a
Frank
tux.
Conniff.
Frank
All
Conniff went
right.
out and
So
bought
Oh,
a
wow.
tuxedo T-shirt. He will be wearing a tuxedo T-shirt
and just
for
to put
this
a
event.
button on it,
Never
where's
say
the
we don't
website?
commit.
What's the website people can go
It's
to? It's meethook.live/not. That's the
Yeah,
right
and that's
way.
Yes.
Meathook as an MEET, meethook.live/not, or go to my socials or anybody's socials and you'll see the flyer. There's even a scan code you can click on or whatever.
Ah,
And come enjoy. And if you can't make it live on Saturday night, you can get the pay-per-view anytime for the next several months. It'll be up there. And it's
ah,
going to be a lot of
That
great
is correct.
material. And I highly recommend it because once you have it, you have it. And it's going to be something very good to revisit when you need a jolt of sanity in the weeks and months to come.
that's great. And I was going to say, maybe I wish
Absolutely.
we could play like a chunk afterwards on the show, but then Ron will make me pay a license
Ron
fee,
will
so I'm
make
not
you
going
pay
to
a
do it.
license
So
I
I'm
fee,
not
mean,
going to do
Ron.
that.
he will
Not going to do
text
that.
you immediately, like, you can't do that, and you're like, oh.
No, I can't. But I'm glad. All right. So this Saturday, and I'm proud to be a part of it as well. So I hope people check it out.
It's such a great
It's
collection
important.
and such
So
an
I want to
honor
go.
to be a part of it. I feel very, very lucky.
I want to go to a topic that Tara posted on my Instagram that we have to talk about. And she
Oh,
literally did. I'm not joking. And that's Nancy Mace yelling, filming herself
oh my God.
yelling at a
Oh
constituent.
my
Instead of
God.
having a town hall, just yell at constituents in like pharmacies. I don't know what is going on here. So what intrigued you about? She was yelling at. She was in an Ultra Beauty
It's
in South
fantastic.
Carolina,
Ulta.
yelling at
Yes, she was.
Eli
She's
Murray
Ulta MAGA
Quick
now.
and saying weird
Oh
things
God, I
like,
love him so
and you,
much.
this is all about gay marriage, and I fought for that. And he's like, what does that mean?
Nuts.
What are you bringing up gay marriage for?
It's
Tell
just
us
crazy.
your take, my friend.
I mean, I've tangoed with Nancy Mace's comms director in the past because it makes me angry that a woman who claims to have survived rape has no problem with Donald Trump being a rapist pedophile who allowed international sex trafficking rapist Andrew and Tristan Tate back into the United States of America. She will not answer any questions about that. And I'm incredibly frustrated by that because it's like talking out both sides of your mouth. And so we've all seen the video. She Streisanded affected herself. She Streisand affected herself because she posted the video, and he also, Murray Quick, posted the video. It's the same thing. Hers is no different from his, okay? He does not get in her face. He's not wearing Daisy Dukes.
I know. What a
He
weird
is
thing.
not crazy or unhinged. He certainly doesn't merit the verbal abuse that she unleashed on him. I would say, I don't really care who you are. If you're a sitting member of Congress and you are approached in public by one of your constituents, polite, and he was very polite about it. All he says is, "Hey Nancy, are you going to be holding another town hall anytime soon?" And she's like, "Haven't you
It
ever been to
didn't.
my town hall? Why didn't you come to my town halls last year? You know what's wrong is that liberals are crazy and fuck you and go fuck yourself." And I'm like, "Oh, what?" The man keeps a safe distance, never comes near her, never raises his voice, does match her language wise. He's like, "You're telling me to go fuck myself? Fuck you and fuck you and fuck." She is fully unhinged in this video. And then she makes it worse by sharing it on her socials, going on Fox News and talking to Sean Hannity about it, writing an article about it for the Daily Mail. She continues to harass and defame her own constituent. So, just that on its face, if something like this happened pre Trump, people would never stop screaming about it. And also, let's
That's
say
right.
Jasmine Crockett was in a store and somebody came up to her and she went off on somebody like that. Oh my, MAGA would be screaming about it endlessly. It is absolutely fully inappropriate for an elected official to treat any constituent like that. And then she immediately got a town hall put together, very hastily put together by and it was sponsored by Turning Point USA. And there's video that she posted of herself, her verbally abusing a trans woman and calling her a slur for a transgender person to their face over and over and over, bullying, calling the transgender woman a guy on her social media. Something is very, very wrong with Nancy Mace. I don't know. It's because she's mainlining Ozempic or she's just trying really, really hard to curry favor with Donald Trump. But she has learned that negative attention is the way she's getting attention. Right. And this morning, like she's still doing it this morning. And it reminded me of that Everclear song, Everything to Everyone, which is, you put yourself in stupid places, you play stupid games, and it's, the hand you hold is the hand that holds you. I think you make yourself a victim every single day is the line. You play the victim. I think you like to play the victim. You like to be in pain. I think you make yourself a victim every single day. That's the line, because she does. This is what she has learned.
She does.
She has learned she will get
it's a
negative attention like a bad child. And so what should happen is that the Democratic colleagues in the House should censure her because she is verbally abusing and harassing an American citizen, her own constituent, from her social media accounts. That is against congressional rules of ethics. So at the bare minimum, that should happen.
We only have and I so appreciate you breaking it down. I know you had a lot of passion. I love it. We have 1 minute left. John, we're in the last minute. If you want to touch on the pursuit of fame, but literally we have like a minute left.
I'll be really quick. Listen, you guys have it all wrong. What you saw was her audition sizzle reel for the new reality show, Real Housewives of the Confederacy. You totally missed it, okay? How dare you ask me about my job? The best part about this was that she filmed it herself, because nothing says stable leadership like rage vlogging from the concealer aisle at CVS. And then she posts the video like she just exposed a terrorist. Lady, it's a man in shorts. It's not a hostage situation. It's like watching somebody lose their minds over a customer service survey. How dare you ask if I'm available? I'm not a public servant. And again, this was Florida man energy in a beauty chain for Karen's Gone Wild. The man was not wearing Daisy Dukes. Tara is correct. Nancy Mace is the one who's unhinged. And if you can't handle a dude politely asking you a question while wearing cutoff shorts, maybe you shouldn't be negotiating war powers and infrastructure bills. Get back to your deep-fried dysfunction.
Nancy, please stop it. Popper, please. You guys have been great. Before we run out of time, quick thing, Tara, people want to follow you on social media. Where can they go?
I am Tara Dublin Rocks on Twitter and Blue Sky, Tara Dublin Rocks 1 on Instagram. I have a Substack, taradublin.substack.com, and you can buy my book, The Sound of Settling, at taradublinrocks.com. Also, The Tara Show on Tuesdays and Thursdays on the Political Voices Network, 2 p.m. on the East Coast, 11 a.m. on the West Coast.
Busy. John, you, last thing.
Stay busy.
I follow this show. Please watch Not the White House Correspondents Dinner at meethook.live/not, and my book is coming out this summer. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you both. I love that
Dean.
you guys were great.